Well, gang, you might want to put that cookie down right now because the Trump's administration just came out and they're talking about a UFO crashing into a fighter jet. That's right, and they're talking about the anti-gravity technology. They're talking about the UFOs, this and that. And you want to know the response? You want to know like what people are talking about? Everybody in the comment section saying we're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Bruh. That we have been having these breaking news for the last 10 years. Where are them aliens at? Show us them alien bimbos. Show us them UFOs. And guys, relax. You're gonna get some in this one. And I got a bunch of clips that I want to share with you, so let's actually jump right into it. And yeah, the story is pretty wild. You know, jokes aside, it's pretty crazy, but I need to show love to you guys because you guys have been going crazy. Shout out to the homie Catfish, Robert, Treka, the homie Scott. Thank you guys so much for your amazing tips, the super thanks, and thank you guys so much for all the love that you have been showing on the channel. It does not go unnoticed, okay? But first of all, check this, Roller.
Is the government finally coming clean about what it knows about UFOs? There's a new report by the Federal Aviation Administration that admits in 2023 an orange and white UFO crashed into an Air Force fighter jet during a routine training mission. The UFO caused so much damage to the $60 million jet that it was forced to land. And that is not the only new evidence that they released. Trump's top science advisors recently admitted that the government may have anti-gravity technology. Look at this.
What?
Our passenger planes are slower than they used to be.
Okay, wait for it. Yeah, this is like a month old at this point, but relax. You're gonna get some, okay? Because, yeah, the fighter jet story is coming right after this one, but this is insane story. It did not made headlines. Yeah, right, as shocking as this is, it did not made the types of headlines that you would think it would have made, but roll it.
Look at this.
Our passenger planes are slower than they used to be. Our trains crawl compared to those in other parts of the world. Our cars do not fly. We are capable of so much more. Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space.
Manipulate time and space. Oh my gosh, I'm surprised that hasn't been a bigger story. So why has the Trump administration decided to disclose all of this now? I want to ask former Pentagon UFO whistleblower and investigator Lou Elizondo. Lou, it's nice to have you with us. First of all,
there we go.
The UFO that crashed into the fighter plane, what do we know about that?
Well, the problem is that we really don't know much. And
there we go. What? Come on, man. They crashed. I mean, these twats crashed into a $60 million fighter jet, and we don't know much about it. Okay, man. Yo, the Uncle Donnie probably gonna put tariffs on these suckers out there, bro.
Lies the challenge, right? When you have an incident involving a $40 million combat aircraft, and only the details now are starting to be released through Freedom of Information Act and FAA, there's a problem. Now, we've been saying for the last 8 years since I've been out that there have been dozens upon dozens of these near-air collisions that have occurred with military and civilian and commercial pilots. This is not just happening with military aircraft. Now, this is the first time we heard of an actual mid-air collision, but some of these objects are coming so close to combat aircraft that they are literally splitting that combat formation right down the middle. So you can imagine how close combat aircraft fly when they're flying in formation. Now imagine a UAP coming in right between them. So this is nothing new. And I think, you know, you mentioned earlier, why is the administration having the conversation now? And I think it's because this...
Yeah, I wanted to actually point this video out, right? So this is what I was finding in the meantime. We've had like several of these types of videos too, where commercial airliners have been spotting them too. I believe there was one in New York as well where a passenger captured it too. And yeah, these videos are genuine, seemingly, okay? I mean, everything can be faked on the internet, but these videos made quite a lot of fuss when they first came out. And you know, there was also another UFO where it was like oncoming to the commercial jet, not necessarily the commercial but the private one, you know, the smaller planes. The pilot saw like a oncoming UFO, and it was actually pretty wild. And yeah, so there have been a lot of cases like that for sure.
This is really why is the administration having the conversation now? And I think it's because this has really become the worst kept secret in American history. It's been 80 years of suppression and misinformation, and we're at the point now where I think I think the administration realizes that America can handle the truth.
Yeah, it does feel like more has been.
I mean, we're really at a point where we have stories of, hey, we got anti-gravity technology and nobody cares, bro. Like, nobody gives a damn, bro. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, cool, bro, whatever. We have been hearing these twats talk about it, but they're all tell, nothing show. They're no show. They always talk about it, but they never show us anything, right? So we don't even care about it. That's where people are at right now. People are like, the comments, I was reading the comments, everybody's like, yo, we have been getting nothing but breaking news for the last 10 years.
Been trickling out over the last few years. You've been working with the FBI on their investigations, their FBI investigations. What can you tell us about what they're finding? Is there anything new there?
Yeah, well, I'll say this. First of all, America is getting a heck of their money spent very well with the FBI. I'm absolutely amazed how well they're doing. In fact, they're running laps around the Department of Defense's Arrow program that was established specifically to look at UAP. And the FBI team, it's a small but scrappy team of folks, are really doing one heck of a job. And I think if you look at Luna's recent statement that she said when she was asked about the FBI meeting that we helped organize in the SCIF, she said it was a 10 out of 10, and that I guess Arrow now has some explaining to do. So the FBI is doing fantastic, but also we can't forget about Tulsi Gabbard and the DNI, the director of...
Yeah, context, that is Anna Paulina Luna, and she did claim that they're gonna reveal JFK files, which they have so far. They also talked about the 911 files, that they're gonna disclose that too, and they also talked about UFOs, aliens, and they're gonna be having that disclosure too. We're still waiting for it, but...
national intelligence and the entire intelligence community. There are pockets of excellence that are working very, very hard behind the scenes also to try to help boost the FBI's efforts. And I think we're finally getting a congealing, if you will, of the right people, the right resources, the right authorities to finally shed some light on this incredible mystery and give the information not only to Congress, but the American people.
We only have about a minute left, but the clip that we played in the intro, I just kind of find to be fascinating.
The American people, bro, like, to everybody, man. Come on, man. We all deserve to know the truth, man. Come on, man. Like, damn, man.
The top White House science advisor everybody. Saying that the U.S. has anti-gravity and something about time technology, almost like it almost just kind of slipped out. What are we to make of that?
Well, you're talking about the engineering of the space-time metric, and that is something that we looked at in ATIP, and before that, the programs before mine, and certainly afterwards. This is nothing new. What is new is that the government is starting to become increasingly more transparent on what it knows about these incredible enigmas that we call UAP.
Well, Lou Elizondo, we appreciate you coming on tonight. We appreciate you.
We appreciate it as well. Move it out. Roll it.
Crazy. I seen a video this weekend. I gotta show it to you guys. But before you see it, I gotta preface this. One, you can tell it's old camera footage, so that would be hard to fake. Two, it's old camera footage of a newscast.
This latest video that we have is extremely interesting. I want you to tell us at home whether or not you think this is an abduction.
Take a close look at this. Field of cows?
Well, how do you explain that then? There you go. Yeah, that's an abduction.
That is definitely an abduction.
Like, legitimately, did you see that? Okay, I'll play it one more time. You just have to promise to share this video.
Can we do that one more time, Mr. Director?
Well, if you're a UFO, if you're an alien, why wouldn't you take out prime beef?
I don't know. If you ask me, that was definitely a live abduction of a cow. If that's not what it was, what do you think it was then?
I don't really have a take on that. I just thought it was hilarious looking and couldn't believe that a video like this actually exists. That camera does seem to have very fluid movement though for that time period. I remember the early days of YouTube whenever I first got into video production, and with those old cameras, everyone's biggest pet peeve was that you couldn't do these fluid movements and zooms and pans and stuff unless you had specialty equipment like a Steadicam or something. I'm just saying I find the fluidity of the movement from the camera a little suspicious given the time period that this was recorded in. But those cameras were much heavier back then, so maybe that explains it. The added weight could have smoothed out any jitters.
In other words, we just don't know. In other words, we just don't know, bruh. Come on, man. Like, what in the world? A cow is being airlifted, but there's nothing on top of her, or nothing on top of the cow. And people are left wondering, there has to be a UFO that is abducting the poor cow. Perhaps they wanted the beef, perhaps they wanted the protein. Yeah, man, like damn.
Added by the operator.
What I have learned is that we live in a dream, a carefully constructed reality. We make use of a science that is tightly controlled and suppressed and distorted. I think we are left behind.
Oh no, that's
humans.
bad.
I think
that's
normies, the normal humans, the people
there we go.
have been left behind.
He thinks. Okay, damn, he thinks as well. That's crazy, man. NPCs, normies being NPCs.
Us. People need to...
But jokes aside though, like we covered this before, and yeah, right, like if what this gentleman is saying is true, kind of crazy. I mean, essentially he was saying we are in a matrix, but it's like a boring version, not necessarily the one that we have seen in that so-called in the movie Matrix, essentially.
Understand that we might have freedom of speech, but that has been subverted. We do not have freedom of inquiry. We are blocked from learning what we need to know. Just in the public world, we are blocked from advancing in science. We are taught false science intentionally to prevent us from learning more. We live in the Matrix.
I have no doubts about this, to the degree that it's not even surprising to hear a whistleblower make the claim. They shelf any new invention that could be used to advance humanity, if it's going to advance humanity in a way that's going to stop their corporate donors from being able to cash in on their ancient technology. We should have free energy and flying cars by now. It's 2025. They had people working on flying car technology back in the 80s, and they expect us...
In fact, like, I remember seeing one of those... flying cars. We've already built it, but I get it. Like, I know what he means. Basically, back in the days, they were saying that we are gonna be having flying cars by 2025, meaning that the normies, you know, all of us would be able to fly cars, and we cannot do that. But they already built one, but it's just that it's not commercial yet. There's also a thing there's also a thing that we heard recently, not recently, I mean, it's still been a couple of years, that will have those flying Ubers type of deals where, you know, you can like get an Uber, but it's gonna fly you out and get you to your destination faster. So yeah, we still got a long ways to go before we get any of that.
Us to believe that after 40 plus years of research, they still haven't figured it out. Yet someone has the technology, as we saw in yesterday's video, to casually glide up to a Russian military base and just hover around in a firestorm of bullets and go completely unscathed. Heck, it looked like the thing didn't even notice it was being fired at. That has to be man-made technology. I think once the truth actually comes out and the government reveals that they've had access to all this specialty technology this whole time, they're going to have a lot of explaining to do as to why this technology is not being utilized for the advancement of our citizens and instead being hidden to keep us paying for electricity.
So I just went down a rabbit hole totally by accident, and it has to do with copper pipes that were used in our homes in the 30s to the 80s in water pipes, right? And then they stopped doing that and they started using PVC pipes made of plastic, and I'm thinking maybe it has something to do with the fact that it's cheaper, right? But then I start reading how beneficial copper pipes are, not only that they're antibacterial, but the fact that when copper is introduced to water, it has also a lot of other benefits to the body. But then I also started to research when they started to put fluoride in water, which was in 1940. But the mass production of fluoride in water was in the 80s and 90s.
As Alex Jones once said, the fluoride in water is turning the frogs gay.
Exactly at the same time as they took off these copper pipes for our water lines in our homes. And why is that? So I started to look at the interaction between copper and fluoride. And apparently copper interacts with fluoride and doesn't allow as much absorption into your body. And then I started to look into why fluoride is banned in Europe. And let me just show you that even though they say that it benefits teeth health, there's also a lot of side effects to it. Let me just show you what Google AI kind of put up.
Yeah, if they tell you that fluoride helps you with your teeth, it probably doesn't, man. Yeah, that's just cap, as the kids would say nowadays.
It says, here's a summary of potential side effects of fluoride on the brain.
Lower IQ in
children, neurodevelopmental effects, developing brain vulnerabilities, ADHD symptoms, anxiety and depression, behavioral...
Oh, we're seeing a whole lot of that in today's kids, in today's generation. ADHD through the roof, anxiety and depression through the roof. Nobody want to work. Everybody wants that instant gratification. Like, nobody want to work for it, right? And you ask kids. There was a very good study done here in the US. I mean, I'm in Canada, but it's basically the same thing here too, bro. Like, so North America, let's just put it that way, okay? But the study was done, and you know, they were asking and surveying the kids, like, who do you want to become when you grow old? And you want to know what they said? TikToker, YouTuber, and don't want to work, and all those kind of stuff, okay? And they done the same survey in China, and guess what? Those kids said astronauts, musicians, teacher, doctor, mathematicians, you know, all these things, just completely vastly different from what kids are saying in Europe, in North America in general. Yeah, and of course there's also, like, we can dive into this rabbit hole deeper too. Yeah, like TikTok in China shows educational stuff, but in North America it shows thirst traps, mindless entertainment, brain rot content. There's a reason behind it, man. They're trying to dumb down our kids here, so.
Alterations, potential mechanisms of neurotoxicity as well. It says mitochondrial dysfunction, oxidative stress, neuroinflammation, enzyme inhibition. Now, some things to consider is the dose-response relationship, how much fluoride you actually intake, right? And then individual vulnerability, and then, of course, further research needed. And I have to say all this, too, so it doesn't get taken.
Alex Jones would be like, yo, I don't need these papers to tell me the fluoride in water is turning the frog gay. He's gonna say that, but, I mean, I don't know if he was wrong, though.
But this is when the fluoride in water really increased. And this is when copper pipes, you know, started to be eliminated with PVC pipes. And isn't it kind of funny that in the 90s is when we started seeing all of these ADHD and behavioral changes in people? I don't know if there's a correlation. I'm just talking here. I'm just saying, like, certain things that I found. But I don't know. What do you...
Allegedly.
guys think?
I think that's an interesting theory, and when you see timelines lining up with each other this way, you can't help but wonder if this was done intentionally and with ill intent. The government can play dumb all they want and act like they didn't know the potential health risks of adding fluoride to our water, but China, Germany, Sweden, and the Netherlands all stopped implementing fluoride.
I could be wrong, or maybe this is just lies, but here in Montreal, Canada said, in Montreal specifically, that they're gonna stop the fluoride. In fact, they said that a while back. So we shouldn't have fluoride in the tap water, but it's like one of those things, like, do you trust it, do you not? Yeah, but yeah, no more fluoride, bro. Like, fluoride should be banned everywhere, especially in tap water. Like, what are we talking about? It is, of course, in your toothpaste as well. They talk about, hey, it's good for the teeth, it's good for the teeth. Don't think so, fam. But okay, but first of all, they gotta get rid of it from the water. You know, it should not be in our waters.
In their drinking water around the same time that we began to implement it. So when you step back and look at the bigger picture, it looks like all these other countries came to the conclusion that this was bad for their citizens and they decided to stop using it. And apparently, whatever reason they had for wanting to stop giving it to their population, the United States saw that as a reason to start giving it to their population. I have no doubts that they knew this was bad for us, and I have no doubts that that's the reason they started adding it to the water. Hey, don't forget to click like and subscribe.
America's like, yo, we need to double it down. We gotta double it down. We need to dumb them kids down, please.
So common sense, if this is Earth and I'm up here on the other side of the globe, somebody's gonna be upside down, right? So Globers think that gravity is what holds us to Earth's surface. That's why when we spin upside down, we don't notice, because gravity...
Yeah, it would be like this there, right? Like if I were to go to Antarctica, it's like... No, I'm joking, man. But, okay. Alright, let's find out. This seemingly very interesting.
Also affects our equilibriums. It knows when we're right side up and when we're right side down. And it knows everybody's equilibrium, when to turn it off and on so that you don't realize you're upside down, right? And again, like if I would take a flight from here to the opposite end of the globe, the plane is going to magically flip with gravity and affect our equilibrium so that we know we're not upside down and no one else is going to notice. And these people's equilibriums are already turned off because they're on the bottom, but they have to turn mine off when I get halfway through. Otherwise, I'm going to notice that I'm upside down. You see how ridiculous this is? There's not a magical force that tells everybody that they're not upside down, also holding them to the Earth's surface. That is totally ridiculous.
Another thing that's always confused me in relation to this topic is how do we even know what down or up is if we're on a ball? If we're on a ball in a vacuum just floating and spinning around, there is no up, there's only out. So in that regard,
we need the Reddit detectives on this one immediately. Where are them astronauts at though? We need them scientists on this one immediately.
This makes sense. The Earth is the floor. No matter what point you're starting on, you're going up if the Earth is a ball. I've always thought, though, that the explanation of how this works took a lot of imagination to get behind. And as I make my way through a lot of this flat Earth content, I'm starting to notice a trend. Some of the things that we were taught in school about our planet's functionality, if I were told some of these things today for the first time as new information, you probably wouldn't be able to convince me that
yo, I think the homie's turning into a flat Earth believer, man.
It were true.
There's this idea in conspiracy theory, and I'm sure you've heard it if you've watched InfoWars or been in this sphere for a long time. It's sort of a form of predictive programming, but the idea is that these groups, these satanic occult groups, have to tell you what they're going to do before they do it in some form of ritualistic cleansing of their guilt. That by telling you what they're going to do, they therefore can do it with impunity. This is an aspect of the ritualistic process. You have to let people know by signs or symbols or predictive programming stuff in TV. I think what happened.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up predictive programming. I mean, in recent history, the only thing that comes to my mind, because they were talking about it, is the CV, the Roni Rona, like the ticks, right, and all that. Cannot say much more than that on the YouTubes, man. But yeah, the coronavirus. You know, they knew it was coming. Did you see this video though? If not, click on this video on the screen because they apparently captured and they caught that gray alien threat. Check it out and I'll see you right there.